Think about the 5 people you spend the most time with. Not your favorite people, not the people you love most. The 5 people you actually spend time with, the ones you eat with, the ones you vent to, the ones whose opinions shape your decisions even when you don't realize it. Now ask yourself honestly, are those people building something? Are they growing? Are they moving toward freedom? Or are they comfortable being still? Because here is what nobody in your life will ever sit you down and tell you. The people around you are either compounding your growth or quietly canceling it. There is no neutral. There is no harmless. Every relationship in your life is either an asset or a liability, and the reason most people never build real wealth, real freedom, real power, is not a lack of intelligence. It is not a lack of opportunity. It is a circle. A circle of well-meaning, comfortable, quietly limiting people who love you and are slowly keeping you exactly where you are. This is the conversation nobody wants to have, because we are taught from the very beginning that loyalty is everything, that real friends stay with you no matter what, that abandoning your roots makes you arrogant, ungrateful, cold, and so we hold on. We stay in the group chat. We show up to the same gatherings. We laugh at the same jokes and quietly shrink ourselves to fit the same ceiling everyone around us has accepted. Machiavelli had no patience for this kind of thinking. He wrote that the first method of estimating a ruler's intelligence is to look at the men around him. If they are capable and loyal, you can always consider him wise. If they are otherwise, you can form a poor opinion of him. He wasn't talking about kings. He was talking about you. The people around you are a public declaration of your standards. They reveal what you have decided you are worth, and if that declaration is comfortable, familiar, and going nowhere, then you already know what needs to change. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Nice people can destroy your future without ever meaning to. This is not about malice. Malicious people are easy to identify and remove. This is about something far more dangerous. Subtle discouragement dressed as concern. Small comments that redirect your ambition. Social dynamics that reward staying the same and quietly punish growing. You've felt it. You share an idea and the room goes slightly cold. Not hostile, just unconvinced, just cautious. Just, are you sure that's realistic? You talk about a goal and someone you love lists every reason it might not work, not because they want to stop you, because they are afraid for you, because your risk makes them confront their own stillness. That fear, expressed as concern, delivered in love, is one of the most expensive things that will ever happen to your ambition, because you trust them, and trust makes the doubt stick. Machiavelli called this the advisor problem. He said that a prince who is not wise himself cannot be well advised, because even good counsel becomes dangerous when the person receiving it doesn't have the judgment to filter it. The same is true here. When you are surrounded entirely by people who have never built what you want to build, their advice feels like wisdom but operates like a ceiling. They cannot see beyond what they have experienced. And so every piece of counsel they offer is drawn from a map that does not include where you are trying to go. This is not their fault, but it is your problem. And until you recognize it as a problem, you will keep consulting the wrong maps and wondering why you keep arriving at the same destination. So let's talk about what human capital actually is, because this is the concept most financial education completely ignores. You are told to invest in stocks, in real estate, in index funds and compound interest. Nobody tells you to invest in people, but your network, the specific human beings you choose to keep close, is the highest returning investment you will ever make, or the most costly mistake you will ever ignore. Human capital is simple. It is the collective knowledge, ambition, behavior, and belief system of the people closest to you. And it transfers, silently, constantly, without your permission. Studies on social contagion show that financial behavior spreads through networks the same way habits do. If 3 of your closest friends spend impulsively, your own spending patterns will shift toward theirs over time, not because you copied them, because proximity normalizes behavior. What is normal around you becomes what is normal inside you. and normal is the enemy of extraordinary. Think about that carefully. You did not consciously choose most of your financial habits. You absorbed them. From your family first, then from your friends, then from the social world you moved through without realizing it was moving through you. The person who grew up around people who talked about money with fear will make fear-based financial decisions long into adulthood, even after they have read every book, watched every video, attended every seminar, because knowledge lives in the mind. But behavior lives in the environment, and environment always wins. This is precisely why the law of human capital is more important than any investment strategy you will ever learn. Because if the strategy lives inside a limiting environment, the environment will quietly dismantle it, every time. So before you ask what to invest in, ask who surrounds your thinking. That question changes everything. Rule 1. Stop mistaking comfort for loyalty. This is the first brutal truth Machiavelli forces you to face. Not every long relationship is a valuable one. Duration is not a measure of worth. Some friendships are long simply because neither person had the courage to outgrow the other. You stayed because leaving felt cruel. They stayed because change felt threatening. And somewhere in that mutual avoidance of discomfort, years passed and neither of you moved. Real loyalty is not about staying. Real loyalty is about honesty. A truly loyal person in your life will challenge your thinking, celebrate your growth, and refuse to let you stay small simply because small is easier. If the people around you never challenge you, never push back on your excuses, never hold you to the standard you said you wanted to reach, they are not loyal. They are comfortable. And comfortable, in human capital terms, is a liability. Machiavelli was direct about this. He wrote that flattery is a plague because men are so pleased with their own opinions that they find it difficult to defend themselves from this disease. The friends who always agree with you, who validate every decision, who never ask the hard question, they are not your allies. They are your flatterers, and flattery keeps you exactly where you are. Rule 2. Audit your circle like it is a financial statement, because it is. Every person in your inner circle represents either a return on investment or a drain on your resources, not in a transactional way, in an energetic, directional, behavioral way. After spending time with them, do you feel expanded or contracted? Do you leave conversations with more clarity or more doubt? Do they inspire action or do they normalize delay? These questions are not harsh. They are diagnostic. A financial audit doesn't mean you hate your expenses. It means you want to understand what is serving your goals and what is quietly working against them. Your social circle deserves the same clarity. Think about the last 5 conversations you had with your closest people. What were they about? Complaints about work, gossip about others, plans that never become action, or ideas, growth, strategy, movement? The content of your conversations is a precise indicator of the direction your life is moving. Show me what you talk about most and I will show you where you will be in 5 years. This is not judgment. This is pattern recognition. And pattern recognition is how the wealthy avoid the mistakes that keep everyone else stuck. Rule 3. Seek out people who make you feel behind. This is where most people get it backwards. The natural human instinct is to find people who make you feel ahead, people around whom you look capable, successful, put together. It feels good. It is also slowly lethal to your growth. Because you do not rise to your potential in rooms where you are the smartest person, you rise to your potential in rooms where your current level is just the beginning. Machiavelli understood that the most dangerous place for a prince was the place where no one challenged him. Because unchallenged, he would stop preparing. And an unprepared leader, no matter how capable at their peak, becomes vulnerable the moment real pressure arrives. The same law applies to your ambition. Find the person who is 5 years ahead of you and stay close enough to feel the discomfort. Not envy, discomfort. Envy resents the gap. Discomfort studies it. Envy wants them to come down. Discomfort uses the gap as a map. The people who built extraordinary wealth almost universally describe a mentor, a peer, a room they walked into that made them feel inadequate in the most productive way possible. That feeling was not a warning, it was a compass. Find that compass and follow the discomfort. Because discomfort in the right direction is not a problem to solve, it is a signal to follow. Every wealthy person you admire has a story about a room they walked into where they felt small, where the conversation was above them, where the ambition in the air made their own goals feel modest. They did not leave that room and feel defeated. They left that room and got to work. That is what the right circle does. It does not make you feel good about where you are. It makes you hungry for where you could be, and hunger, the right kind, is the beginning of every extraordinary outcome. Rule 4. Protect your ambition from loving pessimists. This is the most painful rule, because loving pessimists are not enemies. They are parents, siblings, old friends, people who genuinely want the best for you, but have unconsciously defined best as safe. And safe means don't try too much. Safe means don't risk too visibly. Safe means stay inside the range of outcomes that we can all understand and accept. Your ambition, if it is real, will constantly exceed that range. And every time it does, the loving pessimists in your life will express concern, will list the risks, will remind you of someone else who tried and what happened to them. They are not wrong about the risks. They are simply unqualified to assess whether the risk is worth it for you, because they have never taken it. Machiavelli wrote that there is nothing more difficult to carry out, nor more doubtful of success, nor more dangerous to manage than to initiate a new order of things. Every new order of things in your life will be opposed by those who benefited from the old arrangement. Sometimes that opposition comes from people who love you deeply. Your job is not to resent them for it. Your job is to protect your ambition from it the way you would protect a fire from wind, not by fighting the wind, by shielding the flame until it is strong enough to burn regardless. Think about what that protection looks like. Practically, it means being selective about what you share and with whom you share it, not out of secrecy, out of strategy. A seed planted in poor soil does not grow, no matter how much potential it carries. An idea shared too early with the wrong people gets buried under their fears before it ever has a chance to become real. This is not about lying to the people you love. It is about understanding that new ideas are fragile and that fragile things deserve protection, not exposure to every possible doubt before they have even taken root. Share your plans with people who have built. Protect your vision from people who have only observed. That distinction will save you years. Rule 5. Invest in relationships that return more than warmth. This is where people get defensive. Because we are taught that valuing relationships for what they offer is cold, calculating, transactional. But consider what you are actually saying when you refuse to think strategically about your circle. You are saying that your future is not worth protecting, that your growth is not worth curating, that the most important investment you will ever make, the people who shape your thinking daily, deserves less scrutiny than a stock pick. That is not loyalty. That is negligence. Strategic relationships are not about using people. They are about building a world where the people closest to you are also the people most likely to tell you the truth, challenge your assumptions, open doors you did not know existed, and hold you accountable to the version of yourself you said you wanted to become. That is not cold. That is the highest form of respect you can offer another person and yourself. The wealthy have always understood this. They do not network to collect contacts. They build relationships with intention, with a clear sense of what value means, what growth looks like, and who in their circle is moving in a direction they want to move toward. Proximity to the right people is not a nice to have. It is a strategy. And like all strategies, it requires intention. Now pause here. Think about your current circle honestly, not harshly, honestly. Who in your life makes you better by simply being around them? and who in your life, through no fault of their own, pulls your ceiling down every time you get close to it. You don't have to make any decisions right now, but hold both names in your mind, because awareness is always the first movement. And the first movement is where everything begins. Most people never even reach the awareness. They sense something is off. They feel the subtle resistance every time they try to grow. They notice the pattern of conversations that go nowhere, of plans that get talked about and never acted on, of years passing inside a dynamic that quietly keeps everyone in place, but they never name it, because naming it feels like a betrayal. Here is what I want you to understand. Naming the problem is not a betrayal. It is the beginning of respect. Respect for yourself, for your future, and ultimately for the relationships themselves. Because a relationship you are honest about has a chance to evolve. A relationship you pretend about can only stay exactly as it is. Name what you see, not out loud necessarily, but inside yourself, clearly, without excuse. That naming is the crack in the ceiling, and once the ceiling has a crack, light gets in. Here is the final truth. You cannot build an extraordinary life with an ordinary circle and extraordinary willpower alone. The psychological weight of your environment is heavier than your individual discipline. This is not weakness. This is biology. This is how human beings are built. We regulate ourselves against the people around us. We calibrate ambition to match what those around us believe is possible. We unconsciously set our ceiling at the height of the ceiling we see most often. The only way to raise that ceiling is to change what you see most often. Not by abandoning everyone who loves you, but by intentionally adding voices to your life that speak from a higher altitude. Mentors, peers who are building, communities of people who treat growth as a given and comfort as something to be earned, not assumed. Add those voices consistently enough, and something quiet begins to happen. Your internal conversation changes, your baseline shifts. What once felt risky begins to feel obvious. What once felt ambitious begins to feel necessary. That shift is not motivation, it is environment. And environment, chosen deliberately, is the most powerful financial decision you will ever make. Machiavelli's brutal rules on human capital are not about becoming cold. They are about becoming honest. Honest about who is in your corner. Honest about what your circle is costing you. Honest about the ceiling you have accepted because the people around you were comfortable with it. Remove the ceiling, not by removing the people, but by refusing to let their limitations become yours. Build the circle with the same discipline you would build a portfolio, with patience, with intention, with a clear eye on what compounds and what quietly depletes. Because in the end, your network is your net worth, not as a slogan, as a mechanism. The people you choose are choosing your future alongside you. Choose carefully, choose quietly, and choose like your freedom depends on it, because it does. The circle you build today is the life you wake up inside tomorrow. Make it one worth building toward. If this shifted something in you, even slightly, do not move on, because what you have heard here is only the beginning of the conversation about power, influence, and the hidden forces that determine who builds wealth and who only watches it. Most people will watch this and return to the same circle, the same conversations, the same comfortable ceiling. A few will not. Decide which one you are. Subscribe. Every video here is designed to sharpen the thinking that separates the two. No noise, no flattery. Just the truth your circle might never tell you, but you needed to hear it. And now you have